Several months back, the first time that I was in this church to give a message, Devlin and I walked through the fellowship hall. There were about 50 people there. As we walked through the fellowship hall, I met Laura for the first time. She said, "Hey, who are you?" And 50 people turned to look at me and stare at me. I thank God that today I get to return the favor. Yesterday, when we talked about this a little bit, I told Laura that I wanted to put her front and center so all of you could see her this morning, and she said she would do that as long as she didn't have to wear a tiara. So I won't be presenting a tiara this morning. What I will be presenting is a few things. Number one, I see that you've already got your corsage. Priscilla and some of the ladies purchased that to present to you today. It never would have occurred to me to buy a corsage, so I'm glad they did that. I wasn't inviting you to the high school prom, so I never would have thought of a corsage. But after I planned this event, I had about 70 people call and say, "You're going to get a corsage, right?" So I realized it was very important, and I thank Priscilla and everyone for doing that. One of the other things I would like to present you with is this tiny card.
I can maybe see it without my glasses.
Maybe. Many of the church members have actually had an opportunity to sign this card for you. Those who have not, after the service, we've got a big cake back there, especially for you. And you can take a few moments then to sign the card if you didn't get an opportunity to over the last couple of weeks. These are from Trish and I.
Oh, my goodness, you already got flowers. Oh, thank you.
I will confess that 3 days ago we bought you a hyacinth that we were going to give to you so you could plant in your yard. Unfortunately, Trish and I couldn't keep it alive for 3 days, so we had to get you the bouquet of flowers. I hope that's okay. So I will start. I want to point out some things. 1959 is the year that you began to play, which is 60 years ago, 1959. And I will read to you guys some of the things that were going on in 1959, again, just to put this achievement in perspective. 1959, our church is in the old location on Durland Avenue and 3rd Street. The cost of living in 1959. Yearly inflation rate was 1.01. The average cost of a new house was $12,400. The average yearly wages were $5,010. The cost of a gallon of gas, 25 cents. Average cost of a new car, $2,200. A movie ticket was $1. A loaf of bread was 20 cents. You could buy a full-fledged Kodak movie camera for $67.50. And a pair of ladies' stockings cost $1. The television programs at the time included Rawhide, Bonanza, and The Twilight Zone. Movies included Some Like It Hot, Ben-Hur, North by Northwest. Alaska is admitted to the Union and becomes the 49th state, and Hawaii is admitted to the Union and became the 50th state. When she began playing for us in 1959, that flag only had 48 stars. The Boeing 707 jet airliner comes into service, and little girls love the new Barbie dolls, created by Ruth Handler and made by Mattel. Popular singers of the day: Doris Day, Frank Sinatra, Connie Francis, Jim Reeves, Cliff Richardson, Ella Fitzgerald. Dwight David Eisenhower is your president. The top songs of the day: The Battle of New Orleans by Johnny Horton, Mac the Knife by Bobby Darin, Personality by Lloyd Price, Venus by Frankie Avalon, Lonely Boy by Paul Anka, Dream Lover by Bobby Darin, The Three Bells by the Browns, Come Softly to Me, the Fleetwoods, Kansas City by Wilbert Harrison, Mr. Blue by the Fleetwoods, Sleepwalk by Santo and Johnny, Put Your Head on My Shoulder by Paul Anka, Stagger Lee by Lloyd Price, Donna by Richie Valens, Pink Shoelaces by Dodie Stevens, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes by the Platters, Charlie Brown by the Coasters, Quiet Village by Martin Denny, My Heart is an Open Book by Carl Dobkins Jr., and Till I Kissed You by the Everly Brothers was the top 20 that year. Also, 1959 was 12 years before I was born. So you have been playing the organ for this church 12 years longer than I've been alive. I want to share this with you. Someone sent this to me, and I also thought that it fit in really nicely. This is called Eating in the 50s. Pasta had not been invented. It was macaroni or spaghetti. Curry was a surname. A takeaway was a mathematical problem. Pizza sounds like a leaning tower somewhere. Bananas and oranges only appeared at Christmas time. All chips were plain. Oil was for lubricating. Fat was for cooking. Tea was made in a teapot using tea leaves, and it was never green. Cubed sugar was regarded as posh. Chickens didn't have fingers in those days. None of us had ever heard of yogurt. Healthy food consisted of anything edible. Cooking outside was called camping. Seaweed was not a recognized food. Kebab was not even a word, never mind a food. Sugar enjoyed a good press in those days and was regarded as being white gold. Prunes were medicinal. Surprisingly, mucilage was readily available. It was called cattle feed. Pineapples came in chunks in a tin. We had only seen a picture of a real one. Water came out of the tap. If someone had suggested bottling it and charging more than gasoline for it, they would have become a laughingstock. And the thing that we never, ever, ever had on our table in the 50s was elbows, hats, and cell phones. So on behalf of the members of this church, both today and over the years, I thank you for your service and your dedication to this congregation for the last 60 years. And I look forward to your service and your continued service for the next 60 years. Guys, if you will join me in standing up and putting your hands together for Laura Franks for the 60 years she has dedicated to this church. Laura, we thank you very much.